Good morning and happy Wednesday. Welcome back to the Daily Grind. I'm your host, Chump Change. This is live and recorded for those of you that might be new here. What we typically do is go over crypto news or news in general in the space. I update myself, bring you guys along for the ride. Let's see who's in the house and we'll get into this. Mr. Son of a Rabbit, Broski's, good to see you, man. We have Alexander, Leo Lustig, Vinny in the house. Good to see you.
Perfect.
Network Bits, LFG, appreciate you, buddy. Thanks for being here. I'm usually lurking in your streams, by the way. I usually just don't talk, but they're pretty entertaining most of the time. All set. Good to see you, buddy. Let's see. Black Hat Team, Claude, Savage White, good morning. Anybody else I may have missed, I apologize. Let's get into it. All right, we got Bitcoin 62,189 bucks. We got Ethereum at 24.36. Solana 142 bucks. ADA is looking like 34 cents. We got Sui down about 6% today. 191. $1.91. We have XRP at 53 cents. Again, being like a soft prawn, letting us down always. We got Caspa 13.5 cents. Huge pullback, but you're not buying. I don't know what you're doing. ETC $18.41. Let's see, anything else jumping out at me? Celestia is down 6% as well, about $5 even. Let's see, Link is down almost, that's like 3.5%. We got $10.72 on that one. Dogecoin is about 11 cents, could be worse. BNB 582 bucks. Man, we need a pump in this market. This is this has been, I feel like this dragging sideways has been like forever. I mean, I know we go up and down a little bit, but it's nothing crazy. Let's see, I didn't know he still does these streams. I do, I just do them early. Network Bits, I do them early. Daddy duty calls, you know how that goes. We all got them. All right, let's see. Top 100 coins over here. What is this? Engine layer, that's how you say that. $4. It's up 13.4%, ranked 91st in the top 100 coins. Interesting. BitTensor is down 5.6% today to 598 bucks. Man, again, it was like $2.99 last week. Crazy. Sui again down 6% to $1.90. We got Hex down 5.2 to a penny and a half. Say is down 7% to 41 cents, almost 42 cents. Let's see, Tron over here 15 cents, 15.99 to be exact, up 2.4%. XMR is up 4.8% to 153 bucks. I haven't talked about XMR in forever. I feel like I haven't like seen that in forever. Where's it been? Just floating? What is the ranked actually? 31st? Yeah, it's been hanging on, man. This is like the original privacy coin. XMR, insane. All right, WorldCoin down 6.2% to $1.84. Yeah, nothing really jumping out at me, guys. It's kind of like a sideways day, but it's gonna be a good day. Gotta tell yourself that every day. All right, flashbang. Fear and Greed Index is at a 49 again. Yesterday exactly 49. Today exactly 49. That's where it's at. Last week it was 50 and 42. Still in the fear, kind of neutral. Been bouncing back and forth. Again, be greedy when people are fearful. Be fearful when people are greedy. This is kind of no man's land. It's before the election. We got a war. We got hurricanes. We got all this shit going on. So there's a lot of stuff playing into this overall consensus of the market right now. You know, a lot of downwards pressure. It just is what it is. All right, let's see. We got over here on coin. Jeez, why did that just change on me? I refreshed it. Over here on CoinGecko, top 10 coins by coin market cap. We got Bitcoin, Ethereum, Tether, BNB, Solana, USDC, XRP, Lido Staked Ether, Dogecoin, and Tron over here in 10th place at a $13.8 billion market cap. We have Toncoin at a 13.2, and Cardano is in 12th place at a $12.2 billion market cap. I always like to see where Cardano is. I really think it deserves to be back in the top 10, but I guess only time will tell. I'm sure we will be back in the bull run. Let's see, scrolling down a little bit. Near Protocol is $4.87. This one is still one of those coins that's down about 80% from its all-time high, so could be a decent buy. Let's see, Caspa again, I think is having a pullback. Definitely a good buy in my opinion. You guys do what you want. Don't take financial advice from people on YouTube. That would be your first mistake. All right, do what you want with your own money, but thanks, goodbye. Ethereum Classic $18.38, another one that's down 80%, but Ethereum Classic really hasn't done anything. I haven't heard any news about it at all. If you guys have, please let me know in the chat, but there's literally been just nothing. So whatever, I hope it does well though. I hope it does well. Yeah, really nothing else to care about. Nothing else to care about. All right, moving on to mining. Then we're gonna talk about who Satoshi is. We're gonna watch a video. What is all this? What is all this? They changed their site. I don't remember all this shit being here. That's kind of neat. ASIC miner value. You guys know I like to timestamp these ASICs. This is kind of cool. They add this little. That's actually really neat. I like that. I like that a lot. Hold on. That's cool. So you can just kind of signify the Bitcoin miners, lithium miners. That's neat. Yeah, they definitely just added that to the GUI. Oh yeah. All right. Anyways, Antminer AL1 Pro 16.6 terahash unit over here in first place. $40, $43 to be exact, and 81 cents a day. We got the AL1 15.6 terahash unit, $41.16 a day. Again, the AL3 15 terahash unit mining a lithium, $39.28 a day. Let's see, we get the L9 17 gigahash unit over here, making $16.07 a day. We got the 16 gigahash version making $15 a day. Interesting. Scroll down. No one's gonna be buying this S21 hydro unit, right? For 11,000 watts. None of you home miners are gonna be hooking that thing up to your pool, right? Making 15 bucks a day on that thing, but 860 terahashes is crazy. Let's see, K7. Man, I haven't heard anything about the K7 in a while. 63.5 terahashes over here, making $7 a day on the Eagle Song algorithm. Interesting. Mining CKB. Let's see, the L7. You guys know I got mine down at Terra Hosting. Shout out to them if you're interested in hosting. Links in the description right here. The my 9050 is down there, making $4.89 a day. Merge mining Doge and Litecoin. Again, profitable the entire bear market. The machine's been the best. I really wish I should buy another one, to be honest. Let's see. Actually, you know what? Let's see what they're going for. Let's see what they're going for. Crypto KJ showed me this yesterday. Now you can kind of get the prices here. Let's see, BT miners, 3,700 bucks. Like, some of these aren't all in prices, right? Why isn't Terra hashes down here? Come on, man, step up your game. Let's go, Terra. Frank, you in the chat? Shit is unacceptable. Unacceptable. Bruh. That's just kidding. But no, these are about $4,000. Like, literally, this is what I got it for 2 years ago. Insane how good they've held their value. It really is. The KS5M over here, 15 terahash unit, making $4 a day. Man, these Casper miners are getting their ass beat lately. Let's see, the AL blocks 2 plus right here, 1 terahash unit, making $2 a day. That's it. Actually, let's see what is the price of lithium today. I haven't looked. Lithium 3.37% down to $1.41. Could be worse, I guess. It could be worse, but it's still pretty bad. Still pretty bad. A lot of downward sell pressure from everybody trying to get their units sold off. What else? I mean, paid off rather, because they all got ripped off from Bitmain, which is awful. Let's see. Nothing else I really care to look at, to be honest. Where's the KSR Ultra right here? Making 8 cents a day. Bruh. 400 gigahashes at 100 watts, making 8 cents a day. That is rough. Absolutely rough. All right. Moving on to GPUs. Let's see what we got. Oh, actually, today, if you guys are interested, is I think Amazon Prime Day, right? Still, it was yesterday and today. I ended up buying a couple CPUs yesterday. I know I got out of the CPU mining thing, but couldn't pass up the deal. Mr. Yusuf in the chat, my man Snake, actually told me about it. And yeah, there was a Ryzen 9 7900X. They were on sale for like 300 bucks, 322 bucks. It was a good steal. They're usually like $550, so I bought 2 of them. Just to have them in case anybody wants them. All right, let's see. Aleo over here is the top coin to mine on pretty much every 40 series card. We got the 6400 mining Radiant and Chlor. How's Radiant looking? Actually, I knew I was gonna look at another coin, and I had a brain fart while I was over here. 1% up on the day. Still a tenth of a penny. Up over the 24 hours, but 7 days were down. A lot of sell pressure from this guy. There is let's see, where is that Radiant miner? That's not? Oh, there it is. Right here. Dragon Ball A11 3.2 terahash unit, making $6 a day. This thing was way higher on the chart. Man, taking a beating. I do like the fact that they have this little button here, though. Ice River RX0 is making 86 cents a day if anybody's still got one of them. Actually, you know what? I kind of want to go to mining pool stats.stream. Let's see. Let's see real quick. Radiant, I want to see how many coins you guys are getting today, because it was like 1100 last time we looked. 260. Oh man. So all right, so it's under 1,000 coins you're getting a day now with Radiant mining. Oh boy. Oh boy. Hey, it could always be worse, I guess, but it's kind of shitty. All right, let me get off this so I'm all set for tomorrow. All right, let's see. We got next on the BC 160, if anybody cares about that. Carlson as well, dude. You guys, if you want to get some entertainment, go on the Casper Discord. Look at all the people trying to like like people like shilling Carlson over there and all this other shit because they're nervous and prices going down on Caspa. It's so funny. It's so funny. Oh my god. The RTX 3060 Aleo and Xano. Yeah, I mean, guys, this is pretty much consensus all the way down. You got Carlson, Aleo, Xano, Dynex on the 1060s. Is anybody still mining with a 1060? If you are, what are you doing with your life? Just stop. Not worth it. Just buy the coin. Just buy the coin, because I guarantee you it's a wash. Again, this is at 10 cents. Oh wow, hold on, this is at 30 cents, you son of a bitch. That was changed from Saturday night. That was on 30 cents. Aleo, top of the charts at 10 cents. Crazy. I didn't even notice. I hate this, why it's way down here. I never noticed it. But Aleo, top of the charts at 10 cents per kilowatt hour. That was at 30 previously, but it's still Aleo. It's taking the cake. All right, let's do it. Moving on to the news segment of things. We're gonna get into who is Mr. Satoshi Nakamoto in a few in the videos, but first we gotta listen to some Nvidia news. Nvidia is more than just an AI chip maker. Here is why. Let's hear what Yahoo Finance has to say. Guys, that like button, appreciate you for hanging out. Let's do it.
NVIDIA demonstrating its offerings beyond AI processors, the company providing greater insights into the company's various software platforms in its AI summit in Washington, D.C. For more on this, we have Yahoo Finance's Dan Howley. Dan.
Yeah, Josh, they basically did a lot of talking, kind of laying out the background of NVIDIA, telling everybody there in D.C. for this summit. This is the first time they're holding this summit since 2019 in D.C. And so they wanted to kind of give the background of where NVIDIA came from, and then really kind of point to the software offerings that they have and how well they're doing and how important they are to NVIDIA. And so, you know, we talk so much about the hardware itself, you know, the Blackwell chips, the different permutations of that, and the Hopper chips, and how demand is for both of those. But post hardware explosion, NVIDIA seems to be setting itself up as a software company as well. So essentially saying, look, we're not just about chips. We know you all know us about
software,
us.
Networking, got it all.
Soup to nuts, networking as well. Yeah, and I think, you know, that's obviously an important kind of thread to the NVIDIA story, because the more people that start to use its software, well, they're not going to want to leave, right? They're going to want to stick with NVIDIA going forward. So, you know, I built my AI service on NVIDIA's platforms. Well, I'm not going to go to AMD now. I'm not going to go to Intel. I'm going to stick with NVIDIA. And now, well, I need to upgrade my chips. I'll probably just go with NVIDIA, right? I don't want to have to, you know, kind of go back to the drawing board. And so it's an important strategy for NVIDIA now, pointing this out. And so, you know, they talk about how they're working with Carnegie Mellon University and the University of Pittsburgh on different learning facilities for things like robotics and automation. They brought up how they're working with the likes of AT&T and Accenture, kind of going over how these different companies are using NVIDIA's own software to enhance their AI capabilities. And so you imagine that if they're building, like I said, these different pieces of software, these services, or even testing them at this point with NVIDIA's software, they're going to continue to go back to NVIDIA as well, just because it wouldn't make sense to kind of, you know, restart from the beginning without them.
Interesting. All right, moving on. We're starting to see a return on AI investments. Let's do it.
The S&P 500 so far this year, and tech attempting a recovery from a lackluster third quarter. We're looking at how to navigate the big picture with the Yahoo Finance Playbook. T. Rowe Price portfolio manager Dominic Rizzo joining us now to discuss. Dominic, it is good to see you. So big tech earnings on deck. Different themes we'll be listing for, but one of them is surely going to be this theme, Dom, of AI monetization. It was a theme last earnings season. You heard, I think, some pushback from investors. Show me the money. Do you expect that to be another theme this earnings season, Dom?
Well, first off, thanks for having me. I do expect this to be another theme this earnings season, but when I look at the return on investment for the hyperscalers and for the entire technology sector, I actually think we're starting to see it. I mean, take Meta as an example. At one point during the year, people thought that Meta would have Q4 growth rates in the mid-single digits. Now that number's closer to 20%. And why is that? That's because they've been able to use AI to get a lot better targeting in their core advertising business. On Apple, I think we're going to see the beginning of an upgrade cycle that's going to last over the next 24 months. And then, of course, of the Mag 7, NVIDIA is probably the best position for this whole thing as they're selling the linchpin technology to all of these vendors.
I mean, I guess it's worth asking the question, though, Dom, should we even think about the Mag? I mean, these things change, right? We had the FANGs, then we had the Mag 7. Like, do we need a different term? Should we even be lumping all these guys together at this point?
Well, like you said on the segment before, it's really been the Magnificent Two this year, and they all have really different business models, right? You know, some of them are much more internet focused, and obviously NVIDIA is more hardware and software focused. But I think the divergence that we've seen amongst the Magnificent Seven and between the Mag 7 and the S&P 493 is really quite natural. And why is that? Just look at the EPS growth rates, right? In 2024, the Magnificent Seven collectively are going to grow earnings roughly 40%. And the rest of the market, the 493, are going to grow earnings in the low single digits. Next year, though, we're going to see a convergence of those earnings estimates. Magnificent Seven are probably going to come down from 40% to high teens, and those S&P 493 are going to come from low single digits up to maybe low double digits, maybe 11, 12%. So it makes sense what the market's doing. But if you look at the Magnificent Seven over the long term, they've historically grown earnings at a 50 to 100% faster rate than the rest of the market. And I expect that to continue over the medium term, given how well most of them are positioned for AI. But today, they only trade at a 50% premium to the rest of the market. So if you look at them on a PEG basis, they're actually in line or cheaper. So I think they're okay over the medium term, but this divergence away from them makes sense given the EPS acceleration, deceleration dynamics we're seeing.
Can I ask you, Dom, as this kind of mega AI trend plays out, is it the big companies that are best positioned to leverage and benefit from that, or are there also, small, mid-sized companies in your coverage universe that you know so well that you think also are very well poised to ride that tailwind?
Well, this is the main question. Is AI a sustaining innovation for the large companies and it makes their businesses better, or is it a disruptive innovation? Or are we going to see a bunch of new small companies become a lot bigger over the next few years? For the most part, I'm in the camp that AI is a sustaining innovation, and the big get bigger and the big get better because of AI. And why is that? Who are the few companies that can actually afford the tens of billions, if not in the future, $100 billion numbers that we're talking in order to build out these large language models? It's really only these companies. And we're funding it with the cash flow of these companies that are the most profitable companies in history. So I expect this build out to continue. And if I look at the AI chip market, I think we have a very clear path from $45 billion last year to $400 billion by 2027. And the only way to afford all those chips is for the big companies to keep doing better.
Well, I guess the question is, will they keep doing better, right? Like, we still, it still doesn't quite answer the question of what are they going to do with all of this? Yes, they're going to keep spending to build out these systems. Yes, it's going to benefit the likes of NVIDIA. But at some point, if I'm buying all that compute, I got to make money from it. And so, I think we still don't have the clear line of sight to that, do we, Dom?
We don't have a killer app yet, and if I knew what it was, I'd probably go join that startup very quickly, right? Because that company is going to be worth $1 trillion. But where will that killer app likely end up showing up? And I think it's likely in voice, right? I don't know if you've played with Google's recent Notebook LM or OpenAI's O1 preview, or what Meta was talking about with Horizon. All of it is surrounding voice. And I think voice is really going to be the game-changing interface. And I think we're going to see some very cool applications come out in the next 6 to 12 months. In the short term, though, you have to remember, all these companies businesses are at risk for the very first time in history. We're seeing all of them starting to converge when it comes to competition. And that results in a prisoner's dilemma where they really have no choice but to go spend on those GPUs.
Dom, always great to see you and have you on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Interesting. All right, real quick, Miss Sarah Pools in the chat said, if you had to buy one, either the L9 or the L7, which one would you get and why? Honestly, just looking at the prices, I would just go off of that for right now, and then obviously look at the profitability on the units. To be honest, I don't think you're gonna go wrong with either one, but I would probably stretch for the L9. That's just my opinion. It's really, I don't know if that's right. Over here in Terahashes, I'm looking at this price. Pre-order for December is 8,000, but pre-order for January is 7,000. I don't know. I don't know if I'd probably go with the L9. Yeah, just because it's newer tech. I don't want older tech. But at the same time, I don't think you can go wrong with either one because they're still profitable. And if Dogecoin and Litecoin pumps, then you're going to be in the green no matter what you do. So it's really up to you and your money situation financially, right? And I think you guys can use code ChumpChangeXD, if I'm not mistaken, or code Chump on Terahash's website. I forget, to be honest, but feel free if you want. Gets you something off. I don't get anything from it, but all right. Anyways, let's move on to the Fed is now ahead of the curve with rate cuts, says Morgan Stanley's Brian Weinstein. We're going to get into that in just a second, but Dat Guy in the chat, I think he's new to crypto, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't seen you before, but I'm not trying to call you out. You said that you heard the Bitcoin's going to go down. Listen, you're going to hear a lot of stuff from people on YouTube. Don't take financial advice from people on YouTube. That is the best thing I can tell you. Make sure you do what you like, only risk what you can afford to lose when it comes to crypto, right? Because you can absolutely lose all your money. But I would not be shocked in the next 6 to 12 months that Bitcoin's over 100K. My opinion. And don't think it's going to go up forever, because it's probably not. We're definitely going to have a pullback. So make sure you take profits when you need to take profits. If you have life-changing money, change your life. All right, let's do it.
Thanks. Says the Fed, because of the big 50 basis point rate cut, is now ahead of the curve, and it's keeping stocks and bonds in their trading ranges. And with global central banks continuing to ease, there's more tailwinds. Let's talk to Brian Weinstein now. He's head of global markets at Morgan Stanley Investment Management. And Brian, let me just cut to the chase here on China, which in some ways is maybe a leading indicator for this whole conversation. Are you a believer in that story or a skeptic?
You know, I've been a believer that China would start to really ease into next year. Obviously, they got ahead of the curve. But I think what you see today is that they're not going to do it all at once. So with the Fed easing, with a lot of other central banks easing, I think China has a longer-term oversupply of housing issue and some other structural issues. They want to ease. They're not going to fire all their bullets at once. But I do think you will see a cyclical China recovery into next year. These 10% daily moves are a little bit harder to figure out what each little piece means. But obviously, China is watching. They're on the ball. They're not going to do it all at once. And they're going to get some tailwinds from the Fed and other central banks.
Yeah, and if you're right about that, it's going to help GDP on the margin. Maybe also be a little bit inflationary as well on the margin, which is something to keep an eye on. What are you doing in terms of overall positioning right now? The fact that after they cut rates, the long end has moved higher.
Listen, I've been of the view, as you know, that rates have kind of found their bottom. They're ahead of where they should be. If the 2-10s curve is going to end up at 150 or 200 basis points as per normal, and neutral is somewhere between 3 and 4, when you get 10s down towards 360, it's hard to rally them more. And I think what's really interesting is moving credit spread. So we backed up a quick 30 basis points, and credit spreads didn't widen. So there's demand for fixed income. There's demand for risk. That is good. It's good for the Fed. It means they can now ease a bit more slowly. I think you'll see tighter credit spreads. I think you will see higher rates, maybe meaningfully higher rates, but it's going to take a little while to work through the demand for fixed income.
So you're not really ruling out that we go, not even that we stay above 4% in the 10-year, but we go to 4.5 or 5?
Listen, I think if you ask me for an aggressive range for the next year, I would say that 350, 60, where we saw a week and a half ago. Yeah, I would say you break the old highs. Like, let's make it a wide range. Let's say you can get to 5 or even 5.5. Wow. If terminal is 4, 5.5 is a very reasonable thing. Listen, what's amazing, Kelly, is when 10-year notes got to 5 with the Fed at 5.5, the economy didn't crater. Everyone thought it would. So there's some resilience to this economy. A giant fiscal deficit helps, and I think you'll get some more stimulus once we're through the election. So there's a lot going on, and I don't think the economy ever got as weak as people expected it to, given where the Fed went, and that's important to note.
What is the Fed doing in a 5.5% 10-year scenario? I assume at that point they're not cutting more, although maybe they are. Would they be hiking rates?
Yeah, it's interesting to think about, right? People will say, well, more QE. Listen, I don't think they're going to lose control of rates, but I do think there's still this positive correlation between stocks and bonds. With at the lows in interest rates, we were basically at the highs in equity. I think you can assume at a 5.5 10-year note, if we got there, equities would be lower. It would start to hurt. So the Fed would have to do something or consider, expanding their balance sheet again. Stop. First, maybe you have to stop shrinking it. But it would be interesting, depending on what inflation is doing, if they would ease or tighten. It's hard to say exactly, but certainly I think we're going to go to that pain point where yields put pressure on stocks. We're nowhere close, but that's a 2025 story.
I'm starting to come around to the Barry Knapp view that the Fed should start aggressively selling securities from its balance sheet, because why not? Obviously, I forget which Fed official themselves this week said, no, we're not going back to the balance sheet the size it was before all this, and that's fine, but why not at least move aggressively in that direction instead of moving rates?
it's hard to shrink the balance sheet without being disruptive. I agree. Being aggressive has some merits because it gives you a chance to increase it later. But it's disruptive. So time is on their side until it's not. You've also seen some repo issues, right? So it's not a free option to continue to let the balance sheet shrink. Someone has to take up that slack. And into year end, I think we'll see some funding pressure. So it's a complicated story. But listen, the balance sheet's a tool. They'll use it and they will try to shrink the balance sheet as much as they can until they have to use it again. And I could be wrong. Maybe they won't have to, but I think it's out there in the ether somewhere.
Yeah, it just seems kind of strange that we're stuck here with a, whatever it is, $7 trillion balance sheet. The economy's so good, but we can't possibly sell that down because the economy, the financial system isn't strong enough. That all just seems such an odd state of affairs.
It is an odd state of affairs. Again, no one thought we'd get here. It's hard to get out of. It's a big number, $7 trillion. It's not easy to unwind that, and I don't think they ever will, as the Fed says. Yeah. Listen, they want to get out of mortgages, so they'll do that. But I think the Treasury piece is important. The system is very large, and the extra liquidity is still needed.
All right, Brian. Thank you. Appreciate your time
Very
this afternoon.
true.
Brian Weinstein.
The one thing I would like to add, Miss Sarah Pools, think about just buying the coin right now instead of buying the miner. That's just my opinion. Think about buying the coin because it's most likely going to make greater gains immediately. Do you know what I mean? And then you can use your profits to buy something else later. All right, what to expect from the market over here on CNBC television. Last video clip, then we're going to get into the videos. Let's do it.
The S&P 500 seeing the worst day yesterday since September 6th as oil prices and treasuries rose. Join us now at the technical levels that he's watching. Jason Hunter, head of technical strategy at JP Morgan, 22 and change on the VIX. There's some weird repo stuff going on long-term. The 10-year has been headed higher. Yeah. Are there concerning underpinnings, or is it all systems go?
So I think it's a little confusing given the leadership changes we've seen since midsummer in the equity space, where you've had defensives and cyclicals rally at the same time and kind of take the baton from tech, which doesn't entirely make sense. It looks like the market's trying to make both tail risk bets at the same time going into the September FOMC. But regardless, that's got the S&P having broken out after the FOMC up against an all-time high, which from a pure just chart-based perspective is a positive. It's maintained that breakout. Hasn't been able to build on it, but the breakout's a breakout. That's the question, I guess. Yeah. Is it going to break out or is it not? Is it going to go down? And do you see any signs that we could be topping out? So I would say when you take the big step back and some of the commentary we've had over the last months, when you look at how long the curve's been inverted, and now you're starting to get a bullish steepening impulse, generally that tends to coincide more with bearish equity performance, at least over a short term. As the Fed's initially starting to ease. But we haven't had the data to really suggest that, recession's imminent. Some of the labor data softened, but the unemployment rates tick back down, the demand data's picked back up. And you can see the equity market is quite confused by that, again, with the leadership shift that we've seen. So at the end of the day, it's a lot of mixed signals. You get the individual charts across the different asset classes. You get a lot of things that don't necessarily fit together. So what I've done in the recent months is I'll take each chart at face value and leave the kind of the macro overlay aside because the pieces aren't necessarily fitting together well right now. And if we, like I said, if we get a breakout in the S&P, a breakout in the Russell 2000 like we've had after FOMC, that's a bullish bias. I'll put my stop just underneath the breakout levels and act more like a trend follower than try and get ahead of the things because that, quite frankly, has not worked.
Do you try to handicap geopolitical events, or do you don't even try?
No, so I think you recognize what those risks are, and I think it's more about risk management around the views and trades, where set a tighter stop, or in some of the things that tend to go nonlinear. If you think about Brent prices, where they've now traded back up into the summer range, and you recognize that just may not be a move to the upper end of the range. That could really be a blow off. You just recognize the risks around the chart-based views, and like I said, you set your stops accordingly.
Okay, so what about the breadth of the advance right now? Finally, something that turned into a positive, or still something that makes you skeptical?
Yeah, so I think that's where you see the Russell breaking out, small cap having led large cap through the latter part of the summer. You're getting a broader breadth of things that are participating in an S&P rally, which generally is a positive. That's an early cycle type story. Let's call that a bet that the manufacturing cycle globally is going to start to repair itself. And you can see with DM central banks easing, some policy news out of China, that all makes sense right now. But again, you also had defensive leadership at the same time. So those two pieces don't exactly square well together. It's a bit confusing.
People just covering their bases?
Exactly. I think that's right. And like I said, in that world, I just treat each chart separately, and I'll put my stops in place after a breakout. I'll chase that, and I'll act a bit more reactive than trying to predict where the next pivot's going to be. And hopefully things start to clear up a bit more, and we can get some foresight here. But for right now, I think being reactive and keeping tight risk tolerance is the right way to do it.
What other markets around the world are important to us right now?
So I think the rates market is a big one. In fact, when the 2-year note got to 350 recently, going into and after the FOMC. Both the technicals, just looking at the chart pattern, suggest the rally looked exhausted. But when you looked at how the forward curve was priced, just how many eases they had priced into the forwards, historically, you really need the labor data to fall apart for the market to price in more. So we actually went short to your note. That quickly is backed up with the help of this Friday's payroll report to a level where I don't think it goes much higher from here. We think 412 is a limit for twos. So whatever concerning, let's say, input that would have into equities, that, the Fed's not going to ease as much, we think there's a limit to that, which could be supportive if the rates market starts to find its footing and you see some rebound steepening in the Treasury curve here.
Right. Okay, Jason. Good summary.
All right. Shout out to that. All right, let's do CNBC Crypto World. FTX cleared to repay nearly all customers 119% of allowed bankruptcy claims. And the SEC also is getting sued by Crypto.com, if I'm not mistaken. Guys, the like button. Appreciate you for hanging out. Let's do it.
Okay, let's talk about the top stories. Crypto.com is suing the SEC.
Who's this girl? Where's she come from?
After it says it received a Wells notice from the agency back in August. The filing says Crypto.com seeks declaratory and injunctive relief to prevent the regulator from unlawfully expanding its jurisdiction to cover secondary market sales of certain network tokens sold on the company's network. According to the filing, the SEC refused to provide Crypto.com with a list of tokens on the platform that it alleges are securities, and instead referred the company to past enforcement actions taken by the regulator. The SEC has sent Wells notices and filed lawsuits against an array of crypto companies, including NFT marketplace OpenSea, Robinhood, Uniswap, and Consensus. Consensus followed a similar strategy to Crypto.com, suing the SEC back in April to force the court to say Ethereum wasn't a security, but that suit was dismissed back in September. Crypto.com said in a public statement that the notice illustrates that the agency's, quote, unauthorized and unjust regulation by enforcement campaign continues, despite indications of a more constructive crypto approach under the next administration. We reached out to the SEC, but didn't hear back right away. Next, a bankruptcy judge has approved FTX's repayment plan. About 2 years after the epic collapse of the crypto exchange, a Delaware judge said yesterday that the company can move forward with its plan to distribute around $14 billion. Customers would actually make money under the plan, receiving about $1.19 for every dollar they put into the defunct exchange. John Ray, who
$1.19 for every dollar you put into the exchange, yet the money doubled. Bitcoin doubled since then. So you're getting like they're taking what a few percent, right? 80% of the second dollar. It's crazy.
Took over the company from Sam Bankman-Fried, said this would be the largest and most complex bankruptcy estate asset distribution in history. All right, let's pivot back to market.
It's so nuts that they can. I mean, that's probably so they can stretch it out and pay back everybody. But that's kind of ass.
For our main story, Crypto World's Tanea McKeel spoke with Joe McCann, CEO and CIO of crypto hedge fund Asymmetric, to talk about today's moves and his expectations for crypto through the end of 2024.
Carl Coates said, much better than us Celsius creditors. Why? What happened with you guys? Did you get nothing back? That'd be terrible. I thought you guys got paid back at least a little bit.
Well, Joe, thank you so much for joining us on Crypto World today. I want to get your view into the markets. It's still a little early in the week, but I couldn't help but notice Bitcoin's kind of stillness, for lack of a better term, when markets were moving yesterday, and then today, stock market up, and then Bitcoin and some crypto, but not others, in the red. What do you make of it? And I'm particularly interested because, the narrative around Bitcoin has been such a topic of interest for our audience. And, as the environment is changing, the rate cutting environment is changing, there's geopolitics and an election at play here. So what do you make of what's going on right now?
I think the big change most recently, of course, is obviously the Fed cutting 50 basis points, but also the coordinated central banks' efforts to also cut as well. So whether this is the ECB, the Bank of England, the Bank of Canada, et cetera. So we do have clear tailwinds as it relates to global liquidity picking up, which has a direct impact on risk assets and particularly Bitcoin, and of course the longer tail of tokens in crypto. But the most interesting thing to me is the news that's recently come out of China. I know we saw ahead of the Golden Week in China, which is October 1st through the 7th, which just ended last night. The PBOC and the broad kind of finance ministry, if you will, of China came out with some pretty accommodative, stimulative policies for not only the banks and helping recapitalize them, but also for consumers. China has a domestic demand problem. It's not a new thing. If you look at anything over the past, I think it's the last 11 quarters, they've had a pretty persistent state of deflation. This is a problem for some place like China, where they're an export-driven economy, and if their domestic demand is effectively zero in terms of growth, they need to fix that. And so there is actually a pretty strong correlation between the expansion of China M1 money supply. So these are deposits that are not necessarily just going in the savings account like M2 and the price of Bitcoin. So what we saw at the beginning of the year, yes, we knew the ETF was coming. We knew that there was going to be a strong narrative behind those ETF flows, and that actually did happen. But what a lot of people didn't see was the expansion of M1 money supply in China as a direct correlation to Bitcoin's price improvement.
How does that fit into all of the other catalysts that are kind of at play for Bitcoin right now? It kind of sounds like this idea that we're probably going to retest the all-time high by the end of the year, probably even break that and get another all-time high is still a likelihood. But given everything you just said, how would you place that among the other themes, and what would you say is sort of the dominant theme to get us to those new records later this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's all connected. And so, if you zoom way out and you just kind of look at, say, the global liquidity picture, global liquidity bottomed in October of 2022. These liquidity cycles tend to last between 5 and 6 years. We're not quite halfway through that yet, and we're just now starting to see tailwinds pick up on the global liquidity side. The reason I highlight China is, I wrote in our latest asymmetric market update this past weekend, is that they're kind of like the final boss as it relates to all-time highs in crypto. The macro is lining up perfectly for Bitcoin to make new all-time highs later this year. But the kind of catalyst, or really the accelerant, I think has a lot to do with policy that comes out of China. So, if you look at the global liquidity picture today, we keep hitting new all-time highs every week. And that's whether that's, collateral ratios improving on US treasuries that are deposited as collateral, or it's actually the expansion of, central bank balance sheets or easing policies that they put in place. These are all naturally accretive to things like Bitcoin. I do think that Southeast Asia, being that it is about 70 to 80% of global trading volume as it relates to crypto, and yes, crypto and Bitcoin is banned within China. But as you start to see a loosening of monetary policy in the region, that tends to spread to the broader region throughout Southeast Asia. And so from our perspective, yes, we're going to see things like the TGA being drained. By law, Yellen has to spend that money. That's accretive to liquidity. There is the potential for rules changes to the discount window to remove the taboo effect of banks actually posting collateral to the discount window and receiving cash. That could be stimulative to liquidity here in the United States. But ultimately, what ends up happening in Southeast Asia, we think actually is going to be the thing that drives Bitcoin to new all-time highs.
ETH ETFs.
Isn't it crazy that crypto is banned in China, yet that's where all the ASICs come from? It's just, I don't know, it's so ironic.
Posting zero flows for the second time, while Bitcoin ETFs posted their biggest inflows in 6 days. A question that I hear a lot as I'm talking to analysts and investors is, how much do the crypto ETFs matter? The use case for ETH has kind of been called into question this year. I mean, people kind of knew that the ETH ETFs were not going to see the same initial success that the Bitcoin ETFs did. So far, this is very much expected. But then even with Bitcoin, as we've been talking about, really stuck in that 55 to 70K trading range for most of this year since hitting the all-time high. So what is your answer to that question? Do the crypto ETFs still matter? And what's their place in the price action these days?
Peepaw Bill in the chat said selling the shovels. You know what? You're right. You're right. China's smart. They're selling the shovels in the gold rush. That would be the ASIC equivalent to this whole crypto thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a flow story pretty much all year long. I mean, we watch, obviously, the U.S. equities open at 9:30 Eastern time and how it correlates to things like Bitcoin. And there has been a pretty powerful correlation over the past few months, largely driven by what I would assume are the algorithmic trading firms and market makers that are just, managing their inventory in the way that they see fit. Crypto is a much thinner market than something like the stock market. So those Bitcoin flows into the ETFs actually do matter quite a bit. And we saw this in Q1, right? Even though China kind of reversed on their M1 money supply expansion at the end of February, Bitcoin hit a new all-time high in March. That was driven by ETF flows. So we still think the ETF is probably one of the biggest differentiators to this kind of cycle that we're in with respect to Bitcoin, because the true institutionalization of crypto, meaning through Bitcoin, is very real. The problem with the Ethereum ETF is twofold. One, in a lot of cases, I suggest to say there's a case to be made that Ethereum launched their ETF too soon, meaning a lot of folks that were getting comfortable with buying their first Bitcoin was through an ETF. Well, they had already had their allocation to crypto at that point for the year. There wasn't a lot of incremental flow available to them to purchase their ETH ETFs. But two,
That is such a good point.
and I think this is the bigger issue. You know, we at Asymmetric have owned exactly 0 Ethereum all year. We see no reason to own it fundamentally. And it's because Ethereum has an identity crisis. On the one hand, they have made a narrative that Ethereum is, or Ether is, ultrasound money. That is false. Bitcoin is winning that argument. And on the other hand, they're making the case that they are the decentralized supercomputer of the world. They are losing that battle to Solana. So until they sort out this identity crisis, it's very difficult for, I would say, retail or traditional investors to look at Ethereum and go, I should have this in my portfolio when I already have Bitcoin.
Okay, that's all.
That's a good point. It's weird to cut them off like that. But anyways, yeah, that was a really good way you said that, actually. They already allocated all their funds into Bitcoin or crypto as much as they could for the ETFs, right? Interesting. All right, the Bitcoin mystery revealed. Who is Satoshi Nakamoto? I am calling bullshit on this.
Stop the cap.
I don't think we're going to find out, but it's going to be an interesting video. Let's see what they got to say over here on Swan Bitcoin. Guys, that like button. Appreciate you for hanging out. Let's do it.
It's perhaps the biggest mystery of the 21st century. Who is Satoshi Nakamoto? Over the past 15 years since the Bitcoin white paper was released, many have attempted and failed to solve it. Now, a new HBO documentary claims to have the answer. Is it just a marketing gimmick, or are they actually onto something? In this video, I'll dive into all the usual suspects that have been rumored to be the film Satoshi and the implications this revelation could have on the Bitcoin network. Plus, I'll address probably the most common FUD when it comes to the mysterious creator. Was Bitcoin created by the CIA or NSA? And if so,
that's a huge. A lot of people think that, and it could be true, to be honest.
Oh, is it just a huge psyop and trap?
Find out. Let's see what he says on this. Interesting.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Pure
actually.
Bitcoin Signal. I'm Hurley, Director of Content at Swan.
you mean
Now
do
let's
that?
talk the mysterious origin of Bitcoin. Most of us know the story. In 2009, a mysterious figure who called himself Satoshi Nakamoto on a popular cypherpunk mailing list unleashed the Bitcoin network into the world, leaving few clues to his true identity. Many have investigated, speculated, and ruminated on the true identity of Satoshi over the last 15 years, with a few usual suspects sticking out of the crowd. Now, as we near the 15th anniversary of the release of the Bitcoin white paper, a new HBO documentary claims to have solved the mystery. The film premieres tonight.
Oh, so it's already out. Oh shit, I want to see this.
At 9 p.m.
Money Electric, the Bitcoin mystery. Interesting. I'm about to find this. Crypto KJ, if this is what you were talking about that you just watched, please send me a link in Discord.
Eastern, and include some Bitcoin OGs like Adam Back and Samson Mao. Here's the film's trailer.
Satoshi Nakamoto.
So who will the film?
I'm so getting copyrighted for all that music. Anyways, Steven Cicero, what do you mean? You know I don't have cable. If anybody doesn't know, Steven Cicero works for Verizon, and yeah, he knows all my information.
Name as the likely identity of Satoshi. The internet has come up with a list of the most probable people, many of which have already been widely suspected to be Satoshi over the years.
But hook it up. I just need HBO for like a day. I just want to watch that real quick.
First, we have Adam Back, who is featured in the film. Back is a prominent cryptographer and cypherpunk known for creating Hashcash in 1997, a proof-of-work system that later became foundational to Bitcoin's consensus mechanism. His work is even directly cited in Satoshi's original Bitcoin white paper. As the film's trailer even shows, Back has been theorized of being Satoshi in the past, something he vehemently denies to this day. Next, we have Nick Szabo, who is a computer scientist, legal scholar, and cryptographer, most famous for pioneering the concept of smart contracts in the 1990s. In 1998, he designed a precursor to Bitcoin called BitGold, a decentralized digital currency that used proof-of-work and a public registry for consensus. Ideas later realized in Bitcoin. Though BitGold was never implemented, it directly influenced Bitcoin's design. Satoshi Nakamoto even acknowledged Szabo's work in the broader context of Bitcoin's development. Next, we have a lesser-known person of interest in David Kleiman, who was a computer forensics expert and a key figure in the early days of Bitcoin, although his exact role remains somewhat mysterious. Kleiman's involvement became widely known due to the controversial claims that he might have been a part of the team behind the creation of Bitcoin, or even involved with Satoshi Nakamoto. His estate was involved in a high-profile legal battle with Craig Wright.
Guy.
Craig Wright, or Fake Toshi, claimed Kleiman was involved in the invention of Bitcoin, and that Wright himself was Satoshi Nakamoto.
This guy is such a boob. You're like, dude, like, why would you want to claim to be somebody that you're not and just deal with a bunch of legal bullshit? I don't understand that Craig Wright guy's case ever. Like, he's not Satoshi. He doesn't have any of the keys, any of the wallet information, like nothing, but yet he's trying to like claim he's Satoshi. I don't get it.
And that Wright himself was Satoshi Nakamoto. Wright's claims were subject to litigation in London, where it was subsequently declared earlier this year that he is not Satoshi Nakamoto, did not write the Bitcoin white paper, nor did he write the Bitcoin software. Hence, Fake Toshi. Despite this, Kleiman's direct technical contributions to Bitcoin remain uncertain. He sadly passed away in 2013 at the age of 46. Finally, we have Len Sassaman, who was a renowned cryptographer, privacy advocate, and cypherpunk, well known for his work on privacy-enhancing technologies like anonymous remailers. Sassaman's work on cryptography and privacy laid the groundwork for some of Bitcoin's philosophical foundations, and his death in 2011 led some to speculate whether he might himself have been Satoshi or was involved in the creation of Bitcoin in some way. There is a live bet on Polymarket as to who the HBO documentary will name as the creator. So what, if any, effect will this apparent revelation have on Bitcoin? If you look into the actual evidence that any of these people are Satoshi, or the handful of others that are widely speculated to be Satoshi, you will find holes in every single one. So even if the documentary comes away with a name, it doesn't make it true. The only thing that would prove without a doubt that someone is in fact the mastermind behind Bitcoin would be if someone signed a transaction to move the 1 million coins belonging to the mysterious creator. Satoshi being the first...
or even just move one coin. Just move one. Prove that you're that person. Just move one coin. You can keep the 999 in there.
person to run the software mined the first 1 million plus coins himself during the first months of the network's existence. That fortune, Satoshi would have had to watch rise in value from zero all the way to the over $62 billion it's worth today. That vast treasure of Bitcoin still...
$62 billion it's worth today. That's insane. I'm going to be honest. I don't wish ill will on anybody, but we kind of hope he's gone. You know, he lost the wallet or he's dead, so he can't move any of that, because that would obviously really shock the market.
Still sits unmoved on the Bitcoin ledger to this day. And this is the biggest and most glaring case for why Satoshi is, in my opinion, either dead, incapacitated, or have lost the keys to his Bitcoin. The sheer dedication and willpower it would have taken to not sell even a small chunk.
Could you imagine if you created Bitcoin and you lost your fucking private keys? Oh my God, that'd be awful.
The 1 million coins is incomprehensible. And to be honest, Satoshi's identity doesn't actually matter, because Bitcoin is truly and completely decentralized, meaning no one controls it. The network runs on code and consensus among its users, not on any single person. Satoshi stepping away when he did put this in motion. Bitcoin's creation is often referred to as its immaculate conception, because of its unique and fair launch without any pre-mine, insider advantage, or early investors profiting unfairly. Satoshi Nakamoto mined openly from day one, never cashed out, and left the project to be run by the community. This purity and lack of centralized control and profit motive differentiates Bitcoin from all the other cryptocurrencies, where founders often pre-allocate tokens or maintain significant control. Bitcoin's decentralized birth and selfless launch build unmatched trust in its fairness and resilience. The value and health of Bitcoin come from its security, adoption, and trustless nature, not from who created it. Even if Satoshi's identity were revealed, it wouldn't change the technology, its global support, or its value proposition. And this brings me to maybe the most common FUD I hear from Bitcoin skeptics, and that is that Bitcoin was created by US intelligence agencies like the CIA or the NSA, which in the skeptics' view discredits it as a huge psyop and or some kind of honeypot trap. When people say this, it becomes glaringly obvious that they haven't put in their 100+ hours to understand how the technology works in the first place. The evidence that it was created by US intelligence agencies is flimsy at best and falls apart quickly with any real scrutiny. And even if it was true, that would mean the government really shot themselves in the foot, because the cat is out of the bag. Bitcoin exists, and the properties and mechanisms that make it the hardest money known to man is completely auditable. Anyone can look at the code and see it for themselves. So even if it was created by the CIA, they, like anyone else, can't control the supply, issuance, or anything else related to the protocol. Its immaculate conception, which can't be recreated today, means it exists as its own self-growing digital organism. We are all literally Satoshi. Debating whether Bitcoin was created by intelligence agencies distracts from the real value Bitcoin offers: financial sovereignty, protection from inflation, and a decentralized alternative to the broken fiat monetary system. Bitcoin's benefits are grounded in cryptography, mathematics, and game theory, none of which depend on the identity of its creator. It's a technology that stands on its own merits. And this documentary, like all things, is good for Bitcoin. Clearly, this identity hype is just a very clever marketing move on HBO's part. They made the controversial claim, and Bitcoin Twitter and the internet gave them free publicity by making it go viral. The documentary itself, regardless of the content, brings more people to look at and think about Bitcoin. So check it out tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern on HBO. I know all.
Nope, it was last night, so you guys missed it. Sorry. Let's see. What are you guys saying in the chat? Man, they lost the key to that wallet. Then yeah, I mean it's yeah, the government definitely would have they would have sold a lot of that, or maybe it's the whole if they did create it, that could be the get out of debt plan. Who knows? I don't know. It's the whole thing's kind of weird. Unfortunately, I don't have time to watch the next video, so we're gonna get into the recap segment of things. I'm just gonna watch Altcoin Daily stuff, but I'm sure you guys could do that on your own. Anybody just joining, let's get into this. Bitcoin over here, $62,224. We got Ethereum at $2,441, Solana 143 bucks, XRP's at 53 cents. We have TRX over here at 16 cents. Sui's down a bit today, 6%, a little over $1.90. We have LTC at 65 bucks. Again, LTC is one of those coins that is down just about 80% or so. yeah, if you're looking to get miners, I'm gonna be honest, I would get into the coin. I would just buy the coin. I think you're gonna do better off long term than buying miners or chasing that, you know, payback time. Doesn't make much sense. I mean, it might make sense later, or like once the thing's paid off, but it's a risk I wouldn't be willing to take right now. I think you make more just buying the coin. Caspa, perfect buying opportunity, 13.5 cents. ETC, another buying opportunity, 80% down, 18.41, sorry, 0.41, $18.41. If I could speak this morning, that'd be nice. Let's see, nothing else really jumping out at me. Dogecoin, 11 cents. Again, if Trump gets elected, okay, if he gets elected and that Elon Musk thing happens or gets tweeted about, the DOGE for Elon Musk working with Trump and being the head of some department labeled DOGE, I think this coin is, just for the sake of being a meme, is going to pump to high heavens. So I don't know, I have high hopes for Doge. It's gonna be funny. Let's see what happens. I guess it only takes him like 5 seconds to tweet about it and then everybody fucking buys it, you know what I mean? BNB, 583 bucks. We got BitTensor over here down almost 6% to $600 even. What the hell just happened? What in the hell? $6 even. Could be worse. Nothing crazy. All right, let's see, crypto bubbles, nothing really changed. This engine one over here, 11% up on the day, $4.03. It is ranked at 90th now, up 14 ranks from yesterday. I don't know what this one is. I don't know what it's about. Haven't seen it. XMR is up 4.3% today. Original privacy coin is the CPU coin, if you guys don't know, if you're into mining. 152 bucks, 153 almost. Say is down 7.6% to 42 cents. We get HNT down 3.8% to $6.71. ADA again 34 cents. I think ADA is a good buy too. Cardano's been doing a lot of things in the background. They don't really like the hype it up and talk about it and whatever, but they're literally, Charles Hodgkinson is one of the guys that actually helped create Ethereum. So he was one of the original devs. He moved off and went to his own thing. So if you guys are interested in another 80% coin, ADA I think is going to be a good one. WorldCoin 6.5% down on the day to $1.84. Sorry. Tron over here 16 cents. It's actually up 2.7% today. Yeah, that's it, man. That's it. Let's see. Fully electric C60. Anyone that touch a dime of that old wallet of BTC would own a ton of tax. So they can't just move one coin. They need to sell a ton. Oh, that's a good point. That's a great point, Fully Electric. See, you're always thinking. Perfect. Appreciate you. Appreciate that, actually. That makes way more sense. That makes way more sense than just trying to prove that you own it. All right, flashbang. Sorry. 49 over here on the Fear and Greed Index. You guys know it was same as yesterday. Last week it was like 50. It says 42 here, but it was definitely 50-ish. We're just floating sideways. This is kind of just like a blah moment in crypto. We don't know where it's going to go. We don't know what's going to happen. The election, hurricanes, wars, we have all the shit going on, everything that's negative for financial markets, right? So crypto's no different. It's going to go down just the same. But yeah, guys, that's literally going to be it. I hope everybody has a great, happy, and safe Wednesday. My heart goes out to everybody that's going through that hurricane. I think it's going to be today, right? Down in Florida. It's either today and tomorrow between the 2 days. But yeah, just be safe. That's really all I can say. Try to be safe. Stay away from the windows. Hold your kids. I don't know. Hopefully it's not that bad. I don't know how crazy it is. It was like a cat, what, 3 or 4? So yeah, I don't know. Again, stay safe. Have a good day. Appreciate y'all for hanging out. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Until then, peace out. Have a great day.
If she don't talk to her, we don't talk to her. Perfect.
Eat shit, Gary.